Hello and welcome to another Continuous X episode where we search for X in the SDLC equation. We're back with Jim Edmonds. Jim is the product manager for Kessel Run's DAGR application. It's an operational unit level intelligence application. So, Jim, many public sector agencies are attempting to move towards DevSecOps for software development and delivery, but have yet to have any operational success. Kessel Run has operational services up and running. Can you help provide any insights to our audience through your services and challenges and overcoming them with DevSecOps principles?
Yeah, I think in my time working with Kessel Run as the DAGR product manager, one thing that I've seen is that they've been successful in getting capabilities out because from the very beginning, they understand the importance of the different teams working with one another. Right. Very much, they're providing the facility, they're providing the tools, they're providing the environment for security checks, and they're allowing teams to do their design, their development, their deployment in a nice seamless approach. But more than that, they recognize, again, because they're a unit focused on a mission, that our overall mission is air power, right? Planning, conducting, assessing how air power is done. Everyone within that umbrella recognizes to be successful individually, you have to work with one another. I kind of mentioned in the previous segment that I think one of the concerns or challenges I've seen happen with other teams in other DevSecOps environments is sometimes not an appreciation of the larger ecosystem. In an old waterfall approach, you might be thinking of information exchange requirements, JSON's documents. Those were all documented in requirements documents. Those kind of artifacts don't always accompany a DevSecOps environment. You don't always recognize until it's maybe too late that there are inputs and outputs from other customers, other applications, other systems. And if you don't do that kind of more strategic view at the product level, portfolio level, product line level, you might fail in meeting that mission. So you could still have the tools, you could still have the overall skilled designers and developers that are following all the practices that you would expect an agile lean activity to do. But operationally, you still have to understand the overall big picture. And it's one of the things to see. I'm a huge advocate of user-centered design. I believe that you ought to be talking to the users every day. But I think it's equally important to make sure you understand and talk to the stakeholders, the people at the higher headquarters. Our military services are assigned to organize, train, and equip forces, not just provide an application, but provide a general capability of air power. Right? So the United States Air Force, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, expects to dominate in the air power. So, what you're selling to them has to meet a larger capability requirement. So I think when you're doing DevSecOps is not to, you operate at the small level, you do design and you build features with the user in mind, but it's important never lose sight of that 70,000 foot level view of the target that you're trying to accomplish by seeing the more holistic capability you're supporting or you're having some kind of interface with. So as an intelligence application, we obviously are affected by what happens at the combat support agencies within the intelligence community. We're obviously affected by what happens at the command and control level that Kessel Run has more say on. We're affected by other agencies like mapping agencies and things like that. DAGR has to be mindful of all those. So when we're working a specific thing that a user told us to work on, I'm trying, and my team is trying to factor in how are we going to provide all those services? How's the intelligence data going to feed? How is the operational, the meteorological data going to feed into this whole capacity? So I think with DevSecOps, there's nothing wrong with that process. And I think everyone can be successful on it as long as you keep mind of the big picture as well.
I think you touched on that again in the last episode, that you also have the teams working together, and you may solve a problem that helps another agency. I mean, and that you don't get that if you're working in silos. You get that when you're, like you're saying, working at a and thinking at a higher level and a more strategic across the board.
Right, and it's hard to look at the overall big picture. You don't always know what the puzzle box top cover is going to look like, right? But you kind of need to be mindful. You're probably a puzzle in that 10,000 piece puzzle, right? You're a piece. Your application is. I think within my portfolio and my product line, they're very good about teaching everyone on the team about the operational environment. We read professional journals, not only with how to do software development, but understand the operational imperatives. We make people read doctrine. We make people read tactics, techniques, and procedures, see videos of how the military is doing it. Because the interviews you have with the users, especially when it's at their locations, can give you a feel for that. But even sometimes the young airman, the young officer on their first assignment, they may not have the experience of knowing all the things that are happening around their base, or whether they're deployed. They don't maybe understand how joint warfighting is actually conducted, right? So they depend on you to do that kind of thinking for them, and knowing that the app is doing things they never even asked it to do. They didn't even know to ask them, right?
I think what makes Kessel Run and your program, DAGR, unique across the public sector is the cultural organization and hierarchy has bought into that culture where there is no hierarchy per se, that the lowest common denominator, the resource working on an app, has as much say as maybe your commanding officer, within reason. And that open dialogue, that open culture of communication really provides a better product or service, because it's not dictatorial and you're listening people actually in the field getting real-time data in order to reevaluate your features and what you're working on.
Right, absolutely. Our commander and the organization as a whole believe that it's not the rank on the shoulder of the airman or the arm of the airman that matters. It's the content of their ideas, what they bring to the table. And everyone in the organization from the top on down adhere to those kind of principles and that culture. What you bring to the table is what's most important. And it's one of the things that make working at Kessel Run is so rewarding. So.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much, Jim, again for your time and your efforts, and thank you for your service from behalf of a taxpayer and a U.S. citizen. We really appreciate all the work you're doing at Kessel Run. And from an IT perspective, it really is great to see momentum and adoption of DevSecOps in the public sector. And thanks to you listeners for listening to our multiple episodes with Jim. Feel free to go back, and if you haven't listened to a previous topic with Jim, feel free to do so as we search for X in the SDLC equation.